Longer. Good evening and welcome to the Lower Macungie Township Board of Commissioners regular meeting of February 1st, 2024. Please stand for the pledge of the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. We are absent President Higgins and Commissioner Beitler this evening. All other staff is attended for. Agenda modifications, there are none this evening, so we'll go on to announcements and presentation. An executive session was held at the workshop, after the workshop on January 23rd to discuss land acquisition and conditional use deliberation. Item 6, hearings and approvals, resolution 2024-05, approving the subdivision plan for DNJ Property Group LLC, 6130 Sauerkraut Lane. Nate?
Yes, commissioners. So this is a minor subdivision. We've been working with the applicants for some time now. You're probably familiar with the property. It's highly visible right off of Sauerkraut Lane there, right across the street from the elementary school and the fire department. The applicant has upgraded and repointed and fixed up the old farmhouse. They're currently doing a accessory residential dwelling unit on the side of the barn. In addition to that, the applicant is proposing 2 new lots. Those 2 new lots, they went to the zoning hearing board for and got zoning relief for the creation of those lots and their proximity to the creek. Those lots, as testified by the applicant, are going to be family lots for members of the family to be living in. And we have been working with the applicants for some time on a couple of the finer aspects of the plan with regard to the creek. At this point in time, again, this being a minor subdivision, we're going to be getting frontage improvements. We're going to be getting the street trees. And at the very least, we've also had the discussion regarding the sewer service to the site. The applicants were originally looking at on-lot systems, and they've agreed, especially after some of the recent weather, my understanding, everybody's going to be connecting up to public sewer at the 2 new lots plus at the existing lot. So at this point, staff is satisfied. We've had a copious amount of discussions regarding this minor subdivision, and we feel that it's ready for the board to vote for approval. I would defer to Engineer McAdam on any other the finer points, but that's the long and short of it this evening.
Yeah, no, I have nothing to add. As Nate said, it's a pretty simple subdivision.
Move to approve. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional commissioner comments? Any public comment on the project? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. 6.2, Resolution 2024-06, approving the land development plan for Topgolf Lehigh Valley as part of the Lehigh Valley Town Center, 361 Shawns Road and 4511 Cedar Brook Road. Good evening. Nate?
Yeah, so the applicants received a recommendation from the Planning Commission at the last meeting. For the board's edification, I think it's important to note that the plan that's before us this evening is the Topgolf site itself, which includes the facility, the structure, the parking, the landscaping. There's a separate land development plan in right now for the access road and the stormwater. That's currently under technical review with the township engineer. So we're going over the finer points with respect to traffic and stormwater review with CKS. The Pidcock company has unlimited access to the township engineer to go back and forth to make sure that moves along smoothly. However, for this site right here, for the actual Topgolf facility, we're quite lucky. We spent so much time during the conditional use process, basically sanding out the finer points, that much of the original points and discussion that we had during the conditional use went immediately into the plan. So after a relatively brief review, we do have a set of conditions for this, but by and large, there's a strong level of comfort at this point that the board can move together and vote for the resolution of approval just for the Topgolf site. We would expect that the other road and basin would shortly follow. One discussion point that did come up at the planning commission level that we spoke with the applicants about and their applicants' representation that we feel comfortable with is they'll be sending notice to PennDOT about the location of the lights from the facility structure that you see there, as far as its location near the highway. And if PennDOT sends something back, great. If they don't, at least we took that step. But at this point, we feel that we've covered nearly everything. I would note, this was a big point during the conditional use. So for anybody who's watching from home, this is the general site plan, but there's a very generous landscape buffer between the proposed properties there that are along the southeasterly side, to make sure that abutters, and of course, I believe this goes right up against also one of the cemetery properties, that there won't be any concern there. So Brian, if you have anything technical to go, by all means, please. But from a planning perspective, this is right in line with what we all originally discussed, and we're ready to go at the staff level here.
Thanks, Nate. I just want to add, we have a letter, bunch of comments in it. I have had extensive conversations with the applicant's engineer. My understanding is that everything that's in the letter will comply. So much so that it was possible that they could have submitted prior to tonight. I actually asked that they hold off in case the board had any concerns that might need to be addressed over and above the technical items in my letter. I'm comfortable that as much as is in here, a lot of it refers to things that relate to the conditional use and just tie-ins with the rest of the mixed-use development. So there's nothing in here that I feel can't be addressed. And as I said, applicant's engineer feels that that's the case. We would expect revised plans to come in very shortly to meet the conditions of approval, should the board approve it tonight.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any commissioner comment? Any- Sorry.
Has PennDOT responded to the request for information about the lights?
No, we haven't submitted the lighting plans to PennDOT yet.
Oh, okay.
They are going to go to PennDOT, and we'll get their comments if there are any. I guess just to clarify that process, there is no PennDOT permit or jurisdiction over the lighting plan. It'll be submitted as a courtesy because we're near the highway, so it's just so they can see. And if there are any informal comments, see what their comments are and see if there's some way to take care of that, but there is no PennDOT approval. So it's actually condition 16 and 22 refer to PennDOT approvals. As far as the specific Topgolf land development, there's no PennDOT approvals.
Okay.
And then
Any, sorry.
I guess may I go on?
Sure, of course. Just sorry.
Just very quickly, comment 25 notes there's the traffic impact fee. Is the correct fee, correct number of trips, fee per trip. If there is improvements to offset that, it may not be a cash payment. There may be improvements in lieu of cash, but in some way we'll take care of that fee obligation.
Sound good, David? Any other questions? Any public comment? Oh, I'm sorry. He already, yeah, I'm sorry. When you speak, just put it to your mouth. But otherwise, we'll call for the vote. Any, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
6.4, consideration, I'm sorry, 6.3, Resolution 2024-07, approving the land development plan for Brookside Meadows Apartments, 3500 Brookside Road. Mr. Jones.
Commissioner Ward, commissioners, this is a project that first came to us initially with a sit down when I first started with the township almost 6 years ago. It's been going for quite some time. We have had long, extensive conversations about pedestrian safety and pedestrian connectivity. We've had long, extensive discussions following the remnants of the Hurricane Isaias and the impact on the site and the stormwater. So after about 6 years, I can say with a strong degree of certainty that we have covered traffic, stormwater planning, fire access, site management, you name it. So with that, at this juncture, there are a number of technical related items that I do want to defer to the township engineer to speak to in a little bit more detail. But from a planning perspective, and for those watching from home, this is a two-unit, two-building, 44-unit apartment complex that's going to have common outdoor area, a stormwater basin, an internal trail system for the use of the applicants, tenants. And then there will be a trail that runs along the private drive to the south of the site that matches up with our greenways plans for future connectivity into Macungie Borough. There is a proposed pedestrian crosswalk across Brookside Road that we've worked with them significantly on, and as was a recommendation from the Planning Commission to ensure that there's additional signage, flashing signage for pedestrian connectivity there, so those residents could access the community center, the library, the skate park, our forthcoming pickleball courts, and the pool from either on their bikes or pedestrian standpoint. We have looked at it internally to make sure that from a circulation perspective, there's now going to be fire lanes, fire access in the event that the fire department needs to service the site. And there's a significant amount of landscaping. I should note from the stormwater perspective, and I'll allow Engineer McAdam to go into deeper detail on this, but the plan that you'll see here calls for bulk bypass culverts. Those bypass culverts with inlets address the concern from the flooding that happened on site. I should note the flooding that did happen on site was rather severe, which was one of the reasons why the plan spent further time with the Planning Commission to address the stormwater concerns. So with that, there aren't any other planning issues. It's in line with the conditional use decision that was granted some time ago as well. And I would invite the township engineer to speak a little bit more about both the stormwater and the traffic solutions.
I'd like the board's permission to kick Nate in the shins if he steps on my toes with the storm piping again.
Granted.
The stormwater was a major concern, as was the flooding for this site. And as Nate pointed out, one of the components of the design and that's up for approval tonight is a rather large pipe that will collect flows at the intersection with Indian Creek Road and the private drive and direct them basically around the site north adjacent to Brookside Road, and basically kind of hanging a hard left and then discharging to the creek. And that is specifically to convey the flows that we want to bypass the site. The proposed stormwater management facility will address the release rate and water quality and volume control components of the ordinance. We have looked at this thoroughly, both from the perspective of floodplain concerns as well as the standard stormwater management. I will say that the system has slightly more capacity than is needed for the 100-year storm, as had been discussed during various meetings, conditional use approvals and such with the township. At this point in time, there are several new inlet structures that are proposed on Brookside Road, as well as an upgrade to an existing head wall that's there. Those are still under review by PennDOT at this point in time. Not sure if PennDOT will require additional structures or not. However, we've looked at the calculations and we're comfortable with what's proposed as far as ordinance compliance goes. So that said, you know, it's two buildings in a parking lot, all in all, relatively small magnitude in that regard, except for the fact that the site floods all the time. So we felt comfortable with how thoroughly we looked at it, and we're comfortable with the resolution as prepared.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second. So we have a motion and a second. Is there additional commissioner comment? I would just like to state that there are many things I do not like about this plan. I think that aside from the water issue, which we hope is going to be rectified with the construction, my bigger issue is the traffic. I really have a lot of concerns. For the life of me, I can't understand why PennDOT's not asking for a traffic light on that corner. As we discussed at the workshop, that morning, there was an accident on that corner without anyone living up in that area. I do think that it's a safety issue with residents trying to get to this side of the road. For that reason, I will not be supporting. So, any other additional comments?
If I may, Vice President Ward, just for the public comment portion, I did receive correspondence, written correspondence from President of the Board Higgins that I'd like to just make sure is on the record as per his request, to which he states, although I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting due to business travel, I would like to voice my opposition to the approval of the Brookside Meadows apartment complex. I do not believe that this project aligns with the health, safety, and welfare of our current and future residents. The extensive history of flooding on this piece of land is unlikely to be rectified with the proposed stormwater management plan associated with this development. Additionally, the cost that will need to be incurred by the taxpayers of Lower Macungie for a traffic light at the intersection of Brookside and Indian Creek Roads that will undoubtedly be needed in the future is a burden that should be the responsibility of the builders themselves. I only wish I could be in attendance to register my no vote on the record. Sincerely, Brian P. Higgins, President, Lower Macungie Board of Commissioners.
Is there any public comment?
Can we respond?
Certainly.
Okay, sure. So I just want to say, I mean, we've been working on this project for a long time, very, very long time. We've had extensive meetings with staff, with the Planning Commission. We went before you for conditional use approval. We have had extensive meetings with PennDOT as it relates to the access into the site, and PennDOT approving the access into the site as proposed. The intersection based on the traffic for this limited project did not necessitate the need for a signal. We are paying the required traffic impact fee for the 209 study, which could be used to contribute to the signal should there be warranted in the future. I think we've gone down the road, I mean, extensively. I think we've over-designed it for stormwater to try to address the stormwater concerns. We've put additional things in place with PennDOT to make sure that we're going to, address any safety concerns with regard to people crossing the road. And so I just think because of how long we've been working on this and that we had the conditional use approval, it's sort of, I think it's disappointing that we're coming so far and now, we're being told that we don't there's a concern about the traffic and the access, even though PennDOT is the one, it's a state road and PennDOT's the one approving it. It's not like we're not contributing all the traffic fees that are needed. We are doing extensive upgrades. We went out of our way to try to address existing stormwater in the area that's not caused by this site. Even going so far as being able to confirm that PennDOT is not maintaining their existing culvert. And that took months to even get permission from PennDOT to do the investigation to determine that they had boulders within their existing culvert. So I guess just from the point of the applicant standpoint, I feel like we've gone above and beyond to try to address any concern that has been placed in front of us. And I guess I'm not hearing anything that's saying what else can we do to try to address it other than what we've already done, because we can't dictate signalization. That's PennDOT. PennDOT dictates where the access road's going to go. I mean, in fact, we even had it marked specifically out there before we even submitted to PennDOT, had PennDOT representatives come just to make sure that it wasn't going to be an issue. Your traffic engineer has reviewed everything. Brian's office has reviewed everything. And I don't know there's anything else we can do to address these concerns, especially when we have conditional use approval, which would have documented that there isn't any public health, safety, or welfare issues associated with it, because it could have been conditions of that approval at that time.
I'm not going to speak for anyone else, obviously, because I don't know what their thoughts are. I know for myself, this is something that I've been kind of going over myself, thinking about, is this good? Is it bad? Is it in between? And again, I understand everything you just said. I'm not disagreeing with anything you just said. the fact still remains that I ride this road almost every day. I know what this road is like. And I really personally feel that for me, the bigger issue is the traffic and the crossing pattern of the residents that are going to live in this development. That is the biggest concern. Because again, we do see accidents happen there without anyone living in that location as of yet. So for me, that's where I stand. And again, I'm not disagreeing with anything that you said, but I know what this road is like. And again, for me, I just don't understand how PennDOT is not seeing that as an issue, especially knowing that there's additional development coming very nearby.
Yeah, and I guess part of that is we're constrained by PennDOT. It's a PennDOT road. We can only do what PennDOT directs us to do.
Yeah, just to add to that, in terms of what PennDOT may be looking at this location. So at the township engineer's request, we did perform a full traffic signal warrant analysis. PennDOT and the federal government have very clear standards on when a traffic signal can be installed. And we found that this intersection does not meet those minimum warrants. And so PennDOT legally cannot ask or even allow for signalization here. So just to give you a little more background on what was considered to get us to this point.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Board? That being said, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Moving on, 6.4, consideration a letter of map revision for the FEMA floodway map related to Brookside Meadows Project, 3500 Brookside Road.
How do we want to handle this procedurally? This is a letter of map amendment for this proposed project that just did not receive approval. So I guess as a background, it would have been what we do fairly often with the development where the applicant does a study to warrant the modification of the floodplain as part of the development. I don't know, David, would you recommend that the board consider this or take action on it? Or I'm actually a little procedurally trying to figure out how we would want to handle it.
Actually, according to Jeff, it was already signed and sent back to us. We already have it signed
And submitted.
And submitted,
and submitted.
but the vote, okay.
Well, and just regardless of procedural matter of 2-1 vote, this letter of map revision is based purely on the updated topography on the site. This has nothing to do with the site design. The FEMA delineation of the 100-year floodplain that's currently on the books is not reflective of the actual topography that's out there. So I just want to make the board aware that the township signing off on this is really, there's no downside, so to speak. This has nothing to do with the proposed stormwater management system and everything to do with the topography of the site being much more accurate than what FEMA had at their disposal when their delineations were prepared a couple of years back.
Thank you, Brian.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional comment from the commissioners? From the public? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
6.5, consideration sewer planning module for Shonik Park minor subdivision on Creamery Road.
Okay, so Shonik Park, this is a minor subdivision that has existed for some time. The applicants are looking to get sewer service, and this is a belt and suspenders vote that we always take to make sure that they can get their allocation as necessary. So
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
second.
Motion and a second. Any additional comments from the commissioners? Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
6.6, consideration of sewer planning module for 1740 Spring Creek Road, Hart Apartments.
Yeah, likewise, this is the conditional use for the barn conversion that got granted a couple of weeks ago. And essentially, this will allow for them to get their sewer allocation to build the units in there.
Move to approve.
Thank you. There's motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any
Uh,
additional comment?
Yeah, just for clarification. They had indicated they only wanted to get one EDU.
They're putting in for the one, right? That's
But
it.
the way I read it, it looked like it's applying for 4.
Let's check real quick if you give me a moment here. They're trying to get the building permit specifically for the one at this point in time. I know that that's what Vince is working on with them. They're trying to get that one unit built. It's 3. They're proposing 3. So my oversight. Thank you.
They're proposing 4?
3.
3. And they're okay with that?
I mean, they have a conditional use for it, so.
Okay.
Any additional comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. 6.7, consideration of polling place agreements for the community center and Hills at Lockridge Community Center. Mr. Beidle.
Thank you. This is just some clerical work, paperwork with the county to authorize both of those sites. You may recall with West Coastville, that's no longer going to be a site. So just necessary documents to allow the elections to happen at Community Center and Hills Lockridge.
Move to approve.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any commissioner comment? Any public comment? Seeing no one, call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Approved. Public comment, non-agenda topics. Nothing tonight, Julie? Communication, Mr. Beidle.
We have none this evening. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Appointments of various boards, committees, and commissions. 9.1, consideration to fill 2 vacancies on the library board of directors with terms to expire 1/31/27.
Move to approve the 2 incumbents being reappointed, Teresa and Ms. Muth.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional comment? Public comment? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. You. Okay. 10.1, approval of minutes from previous meeting. January 18 meetings are to be considered on February 15th. 11.1, approval of bills, transfers, and bill list payroll.
Thank you. I have the following for your consideration this evening. The general fund, $287,069.89. The sewer fund, $76,125.76. The solid waste fund, $2,100. The capital projects fund, $13,129.84. The liquid fuels fund, $23,824.31. The payroll, $230,568.60. The developer escrow, $17,195.86. Total of all funds, $650,014.26.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second to pay the bill list. Any additional comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Approved. Okay, departmental matters, engineering, Mr. McAdam.
Nothing to add tonight.
Thank you. Planning, Mr. Jones.
Okay, so we have a resolution of approval for an escrow release at Stonehill Meadows for Phase 2. That has been reviewed and approved by the township engineer. I should note, one of the reasons why actually this release has been taking some time is because the applicant did request the release of the top coat for the paving, and the township engineer and staff spoke about that as there's existing and continued site work going on at the site that could impact that paving. So that's the amount that has been recommended. Brian, do you want to go in any more detail about that? But basically, there's a discrepancy in case you see the request letter versus what's been released, and that's been reviewed and recommended by staff to be that way on purpose.
Yeah, we're not entirely comfortable. I will say that the wearing course has been installed. However, there is a significant amount of work that remains to be done to address both punch list items as well as just remaining construction and landscaping work on the site. Our office isn't comfortable releasing all of the paving money in case areas need to be milled out and redone. We just aren't comfortable releasing all of it at this time because of all of that extra work. Things have not particularly been done in the sequence that we would have recommended. So that has contributed to some of the back and forth between our office and the applicant.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve resolution 2024-08, escrow release for Stonehill Meadows. Is there any additional comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Anything else, Mr. Jones?
Nothing else this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bruman,
Nothing this evening, Mr. Vice President. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Just one item, as I always like to remind the public, and we do at every meeting. We continue to work on our trash and refuse hauling bids. We know that there may be adverse rate increases that may be part of that, that might happen for the last half of the year. We want to make sure at every meeting that we continue to have the residents know that we are working diligently on our end, but want to get that information out to them so that they don't miss it. Always, we appreciate your feedback. If you have any, we'll continue to talk about it at every meeting and at least mention it, and the workshop. With that, we also have the website up for questions and answers. Ms. Flexer has a news note on the main page so that people can link in and check that out. Also looking to do direct mailer home to our customers. So I want to just let the board know that we continue to try to put as much word out so that no one is surprised with what the outcomes may be. Also, you'll notice item 15.1, if the board's available, I'd like to have an executive session immediately after this meeting for conditional use deliberation.
Thank
That's
you,
all I
Mr.
have unless there's questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vital. Any questions for the manager or any of the other staff? Okay. Is there any old business? Any new business? Board of Commissioner reports. The next regular meeting will be 2 weeks from today, February 15th. And the next board workshop will be the 26th at 6 p.m. As Bruce mentioned, there will be an executive session immediately following this meeting. And it is 6:30. We are adjourned.